Well, it's not. It's almost afternoon. It's a little bit after 11. But this is more of a warning than a review of a movie. It's called Bloodthirst 2: Revenge of the Chupacabras. All right. The idea that there's a Bloodthirst 1 is kind of repugnant. This movie is so bad, it's like Variety put out a cattle call asking everyone in Hollywood, if you don't know how to act at all, please come to studio so-and-so to try out for this movie. That's how bad it was. So it starts out, it's kind of like they're in this a psychiatric center, right? And this guy is trying to get away, and all of a sudden this detective shows up out of nowhere, and the look of it, it's like, it's not as good as Lonely Girls, it's not as good as web serials, but it's kind of like in that fashion, because it looks like, you know, they've got people with like 2 or 3 cameras, and things are shot from above and then shot from below up, and it's just bad. You know, the filming itself is bad, and the monster, the Chupacabra himself, is more comical than anything. You know, there's not a lot of blood or anything like that. I mean, it just isn't. The Chupacabra comes and there's a noise and you're gone, right? It starts out, like I said, there's this guy who they say is insane, and they bring him back to his room, and he sneaks a scalpel into his belt, and now the detective that's showing up in the meantime is talking to the administrator of the psycho ward or whatever, the psycho place. And it ends up being a kidnap story where the police chief, the detective who's there, and the stepfather of the pretty girl who's been kidnapped are, you know, related in that way. But the stepfather is in on the kidnapping, and he's hired these thugs to keep the girl in a cabin while he extorts $2 million from someone he knows doesn't have $2 million, which I found very odd itself. I mean, it's his money, so he's not extorting from himself. He's gone to his company and told his company, listen, I need you to help me save my daughter. Like, you loan me $2 million. They loan him $2 million. So he's stealing from his company at the same time. The stepfather. So the girl and the boyfriend are at the beach. Now it switches back. Says 9 hours earlier, the boyfriend and the girlfriend are at the beach, and she's got one of these a GPS handheld, like kind of like mine but cheaper. It's a yellow version of it, you know, for going out in the woods and for tracking, making waypoints from finding one place to another and back to where you were. And he straps it on her ankle because she says it's a tracking device. And he says, well, now I'll know where you are all the time. Now, during the whole time of her being kidnapped, she has not turned this on. So her boyfriend, who has the receiver for it, doesn't know where she is, right? So the Chupacabra at the end, he shows up at the place where now the stepfather has gotten the money together. He's put it behind a rock, and the other bad guys have hired a bad guy to go pick up that money, but it's just ripped up paper, and the real bad guys have the money, and he's on his way back to the cabin. Anyway, he gets out of the car, and she has managed to escape. The other fellow fell asleep, and she took the keys off his belt, and she's gone out the door. And as she's gone out the door, the other fellow shows up who has the money. So he comes in and says, "Hey, where is she?" And they both go out looking for her. Now the chupacabra, he shows up. He eats the one guy. He's kind of like a flying monkey, like with a huge head and big teeth like this. And you never see him actually kill anybody. Like I said, there's no blood in the movie at all. And so why it's called Bloodthirst, I have no idea. The chupacabra follows them back to the cabin, where she has run back to the cabin she was locked in, and locked the door, and then locked in with the first guy who was supposed to have been watching her. And he says, "Turn off the." She says, "No, leave the lights on." She knows all about chupacabras for some reason. It's supposed to be in Mexico or Spanish that chupacabra means the eater of goats, or the bloodsucker of goats, or something like that. She says, "Leave the light on." And he says, "No, leave it off. He won't be able to." She says, "No, he's afraid of light. Leave the light on." Anyway, he don't listen to her. Chupacabra comes in the door, knocks the door down, eats him. He's looking for her. All of a sudden, the stepfather shows up. And he's looking for the money, right? Not so much concerned about the girl. And he mentions the other guys by name. She goes, "Well, how did you know their names?" And he goes, "Well," he's stumbling around. And he says, "Well, just wait here. I'm going to go get the money, and then we'll get out of here." So he goes, and she says, "Give me the keys before you go." So he just throws some keys at her. She's in the car, fumbling with the keys, trying to get the car going. Can't get the car going. He shows up. He comes back with the money, throws the money in the car, and all of a sudden, the chupacabra shows up. Boom, eats him. Now, she runs off. Where does she run back to? The insane asylum. All right. So now, the boyfriend, meantime, about an hour before this, she has turned on the GPS thing on her ankle. So now the boyfriend knows where we are, and it's called the father, the detective, and can tell where she is. That tells him, well, she's back at the psycho ward. We'll go find her. They get back there, and the chupacabra, he's chasing around people, and he's just eating people one by one. And there's some other vengeful things going on between the administrator and the people who tried to kill him. And he seems to have been in on the thing too. Chupacabra shows up. He's just eating people left and right. The boyfriend shows up. Now the chupacabra, now he's down in the basement looking for the girl. It's a pretty good-looking girl, young girl, blonde-haired girl. She's running for her life, right? She comes up with these light flares, right? And her and her boyfriend shoot off the light flares in the chupacabra's eyes, and they do it twice, and it seems to have killed him. All of a sudden, her actual father, who is the detective, he shows up, and the boyfriend says, "Well, we killed the chupacabra. There he is, right there." And the father looks over, and they look at him, and he kind of turns into dust, and then he turns into the original crazy guy that the detective came to interview. So the daughter goes, "Well, is this the end of it?" And he goes, "Well, it's either the end or just the beginning. Please, let this be the end." Me never have to look at a Bloodthirst 3. Thank you all for your participation. If you see this movie, avoid it in any way or fashion you can. Thank you all for your participation. I'll see you back on the tube.